then we go to decision. And so, will I make a decision to overcome the obstacles and make the sacrifices to achieve my want? As Tom said. Note, if you even pause a bit, you may want to reconsider a bit. You're like, I don't know. Do I really want to do this? Because chances are that you will face far more obstacles and far more sacrifices than you listed. Or maybe that's just me. Like, I didn't realize when I was setting out on my journey, I did not realize there were far more obstacles than I thought and far more sacrifices than I thought. I mean, my wife and I went from 3 kids to 5 kids in a little tiny 3-bedroom, single-story, no basement ranch. And my wife lived in that, and my kids lived in that for 3 years longer, 3-4 years longer, because the business was churning out the money, but the business needed the money. And my wife was very patient. She was fine with that. What's weird is when we got this really nice house on this really big lot, and, the kids were, 12 and under. We went from 5 to 7. When we moved into this big home, everyone had their own room. They also still wanted to go in the big living room and sleep, together. It's like, wait a minute. So anyways, if you're not sure about the obstacles and sacrifice, you're not willing to pay the price, if you're not willing to overcome it, probably don't even get started, because trust me, there's going to be a lot more obstacles and a lot more sacrifices that you didn't anticipate. And so if you're not sure about it, like I was sure, like I knew I had to do this. Like in Ford versus Ferrari, when he said, my daddy said to me that a man is a lucky man who loves what he does, because he'll never work a day in his life. And then he said, and I found that there's people who love what they do, and then there's a precious few who, good or bad, they have to do something. Like they have to, because if they don't do what they have to do, they'll die. And when you get to that have to do it, like, I don't care, like I have to, it doesn't matter, like I have to do it. That's the kind of want. If you haven't seen Ford versus Ferrari, watch that. Because that will help you understand the want. Like, the want that I have seems to be very different than the want that most people have. Like, I've put my marriage, I've put my family, I've put my house, I've put my economic, like it's all in. And when you have that kind of a want, well then doing the do is not that hard. So if you're not willing to do this, then do yourself a favor and reset your want. Like, just reset your want. Like Tom says, go back and say, maybe I don't want what I say I want. And then going into the do, step 5, and then when we say do, like, get a plan, get experts to help you do this. Like, do doesn't mean you just go out willy-nilly without thinking and just, okay, I'm just going to do it. You better plan what you're going to do. I had a plan. And then build your own boss system, the 530 grid, and then, kickstart it, in with a GTing it. And then how do I, best partner with other people? Like Tom said, it's not you doing it all on your own. And then have your own custom action vision plan to help you ensure that I'm doing the right actions in the right way with the right people over the right period of time. And then what else do you need to do? Nicole, do you need to run now?
I've got a couple minutes.
Okay. Any questions or thoughts that you have on this, Nicole?
What if somebody makes the decision and they think they're ready? How do you get...
You mean like getting married?
Sure.
Or having kids? Yeah, good question.
Can I answer that?
Please, I was hoping you were going to, because I don't know the answer to that.
So give me the question one more time.
Well, let's take a quick break here, a 5-second break for media here, and then we'll go into it. So stick around for this, because this is going to be good. Here's our 5-second pause. Okay, Nicole, go ahead. Restate it again.
So the question was, when someone gets to step forth a decision and they pause, but they decide to go forward anyway, and maybe they weren't ready, how do you coach them through that?
Well, let me start off with this. First of all, remember what Napoleon Hill said. Whatever the mind can conceive. So they've obviously thought about it, correct?
Uh-huh.
They thought they could do whatever it was that they were wanting to do.
Okay.
Or did I mishear your question?
Nope.
So if they thought about it, what Hill's statement says is that if you've thought about it, you can achieve it. Doesn't mean you will if you don't decide you're going to do it. But as long as the mind can conceive it, and then the next part, you have to believe it, you can achieve it. So they've got the first part of the three things done. Obviously, I thought about it. So what that tells me is that I have the ability to achieve this process, or I can at least start down the process, and somehow I'll be associated with people that will help me get this thing to wherever it is I need to get it to. But then I've got to believe that I can. If I can think it, then I can believe it, and if I can believe it, then I can do it.
Does that help,
Does that
Nicole,
make any
or
sense?
not?
Yes and no. It makes sense.
What's the
Where's
no?
the no part of it?
I guess what I'm thinking is, so like I know for myself, like if I were to go through this process and if I got stuck, if I made the decision to do it and I got stuck, sometimes when I get stuck, I just let it go or I change it. And that's not what this plan is about, and that's not going to benefit me. So almost like, how do you coach someone to push through
So it's
that?
the believe part that you're having the problem with.
Yeah.
So you think you can do this, and so you start down the path, and then all of a sudden you hit an obstacle of some sort, and you tell yourself, it's too hard to get over the obstacle, so I'll just let it go.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So the process is that you didn't believe in it in the first place.
Okay.
It's the commitment. If you can believe in it, just look at it this way. What Hill says is, if you think about it, if you can think about it, you've got the ability. Somehow, some way, you can do this. But you've got to believe in yourself enough to make it happen.
Okay. That makes sense.
And if you do that, then you get the outcome.
And the more you believe in yourself and you fail, and you continue to believe in yourself and you succeed, then the more you go ahead and build that belief muscle and the sacrifice muscle. You're willing to sacrifice more. Ashley, Elise, any other questions or thoughts you guys have on this?
No, I think especially Nicole's question is important. I think it's something that people tend to battle often, and so being able to help someone through that is crucial.
Cool. So this is all about...
I guess if I ran into somebody that was like that, I may go back to the questions to say, when you answered the question, why did you want this, and what would it do for you? I think those are the questions I'd go back to if somebody gets stuck. Let's go back and review what you could do with whatever the outcome is you're looking for. In this case, we were talking about money. So you start to remind them about why they were really excited about getting this thing done. And then remind them that what Hill said, look, if you thought about it, you've got the ability somehow, some way to make it happen.
See, that's where the internalization, is so important. And so when you look at it, what industry or group of people do you want to bring value to? So do you have an interest? Do you have connections? Do you have history? Do you have experience? Do you have networks into it? So there's all different types of history, or there are all different types of industries, and you bring value to an entire industry, and I'm telling you, it'll change your world in the crazy way. So when we look at an example, the psychology of people, that helped to lay the foundation for turning learning into earning. And so when we look at that and we say, okay, how do we do that? And going through and applying the quantum thinking model. And then if we look at the BOSS system, identify targets. And so the targets are the industry often, the types of people we're going to be, working with. We're going to be bringing value to. And then what type of a message, are we going to deliver to that group of people? And then tracking, 100% of the leads, we've got to have systems in place. So we're excited about whatever we're selling, promoting. We're excited about it, but they're not going to be as excited as we are. So they're going to take some time, so they might not just say yes right away. They're not just going to say yes. So we have to track them. We have to put systems in place. Then we have to ask questions to help build a conceptual bridge between what we're offering them as a product or service line, something to bring value to their life. We have to ask them questions that will help them to understand, oh my gracious, what Nicole is offering, what Ashley is offering, what Elise is offering, what they're offering, that's going to bring value. It's going to solve some type of a problem. It's going to bring some type of benefit or pleasure to the recipient. And then the strategic strike is based on different university studies. It takes 6 to 10 contacts to make a sale. Well, most salespeople only make 1 to 2 contacts. So we've got to have a system in place. And so to get to your WOW income goal, you need to have a system. Otherwise, you're going to have to do the work. And so a system, building a system, part of it's knowledge base. You got to know how to do it. Part of it is hard work. You have to work harder to build the system than actually do the work, but once you have the system, it leverages it. And then to run the system, maybe design it, architect it, engineer it, that's going to cost either a ton of time or a ton of money or both to be able to do it. And so this is why, 9 years ago when Life Masteries Institute introduced me to EVAs, I'm like, oh my gracious, that's the answer. That's what I've been looking for 20 years. Because they'll go ahead and do this for me. They own their own company. I'll help them. They'll help me. Together we can accomplish a lot more. And so it's like that was the solution 9 years ago. And then grouping people and messages together, which is quantum thinking. So this all connects together. So on the left-hand side is the reality. We don't have a smooth system. We kind of throw together marketing, kind of throw together pre-sales. We kind of put together the sale, kind of have the servicing, but it's not profitable. So we often go out of business. 97% of business owners will go out of business within 7 years. Why? Because they don't have a system. They don't have an engineered system. And so in the quantum thinking world, that brings all of this together. that then moves us over to the right-hand side where we have a funnel that's working. And so the driving force is, this comes from action vision, discovering your life vision, and then building a boss to create the income, the network, the resources to fulfill that vision. Area 1 marketing is consistency and commitment. Area 2 pre-sales is drive and discipline cubed. Area 3, the sale, is clear communication. Area 5 is going to be self-vaporization. Area 6 is going to be best student in the world. One word for Area 1 is hard work. It's just hard work. One word for Area 2, pre-sales, is going to be discipline. When we work hard and we're disciplined, we build skill, which is Area 3. Area 4, work, discipline, and skill build artistry. I remember the first time somebody said in the 30-minute strategy session, he said, Mark, in 30 minutes, like we had just met, and he said, I've never experienced anything like this conversation ever in my life. He said, I said, do you know why that is, Richard? And he said, I don't know. He said something, and I said, because I'm a craftsman. And he said, you're not a craftsman, Mark. I said, no, I'm pretty sure I'm a craftsman. He's like, no, you're not. I said, okay, what am I? He said, you're an artist. I'd never been told I was an artist before as it related. He said, the way you do the 30-minute strategy session, it's artistry. It's like you create something from nothing, where a craftsman takes a piece of wood and creates something beautiful from that piece of wood, but they have a piece of wood. An artist takes something out of nothing and creates something beautiful. And when we work hard and we're disciplined and skilled, and then we become artists, then we move into genius. And that's where we all were born to be. That's where we were all born to be. We all have the capability. The question is are we going to do that? Questions, anyone? Thoughts? Interesting, huh?
Extremely so.
And what's interesting to you about it, Tom?
Well, I guess, as many times as I've seen it, every time you go through it, it reinforces it, but also kicks in again. I've always kind of focused on the 530 grid and and the boxes to the right. But whenever I've talked about it, I've, for some reason, have forgot to show or talk about the funnel process, because that really demonstrates how this whole thing works.
Right. Yeah. And see what most...
And if the pipeline is not consistent across the board, everybody working and those things down the side, the work, the discipline, the skills and the artistry and the genius. I mean, and you look at that pipeline. If there's a small pipe, all of a sudden the whole process is clogged up.
Yep. And so what we're doing for us as a company and all of our clients who are in Action Vision, we have what's called the leaky pipe system. So what we're doing is, if a company isn't generating enough leads, we now have systems in place where we can go and look at where is the leaky pipe happening from. If there's if they're having conversion, either speed or quantity to convert, then there's a leaky pipe that looks in, and it captures decades and so much wisdom from so many people to quickly identify. It's almost like paint by the numbers. And then if it's not converting, like, how do you convert faster, and how do you go ahead and make that happen Same thing as in the sale. And then servicing, if servicing isn't a profit center, which in most companies it's not, it's a cost center, because they don't understand the artistry of servicing. And so it's a necessary evil rather than a gateway into another whole world. And then creating clients for life, that's just genius stuff there. I mean, that's just amazing. Like, how do you do that?
You know, it's interesting, Mark, when I talk about this to real estate brokers, and then I just try to focus on the 5 elements to the left at first.
Yep.
And when I walk through and say, here are the 5 things that a sales organization needs to have, and then walk through and explain what each one of them does, and then take those 5 things and apply it to my industry,
yep.
real estate, what happens is to be able to see the broker's eyes kind of, some of the light bulbs pop off when they realize that instead of having a team effort here, what they have is an agent.
Yep.
Which is the wrong way to go. The agent does the marketing. The agent does the pre-sale. That's why they walk over more leads than they actually close.
Yep.
Because the agent is a commissioned salesperson, and so they naturally are going to be drawn to the A's.
Yep.
With the idea of following up B's, C's, and D's, but never get there.
Yep.
And then they do in our business, the servicing is really the closing process. And then they definitely don't follow up after the sale.
Right. And there's another whole world when you bring in the DNA for life where, the cluster principle, somebody buying or selling a home on average knows between 3 and 9 other people making that
right.
same type of buying. I mean, when you get into this, it's just magical. How it all interconnects. And when you realize, you mean I can take somebody else's success on the team and I can plug it into mine, and that's going to reduce that's going to increase my sales closing ratio, and it's going to reduce my sales cycle? You mean I could double my income just by taking other people's testimonies throughout the team and plugging those into my database like it's an IV? Yep. The challenge is getting everyone in the company on the same on the same system and the same mindset. Then they can start to interact with one another, and all of a sudden everything starts to occur, and that's where the 5 steps. Like
to me, if most sales organizations, if they did nothing else, to me the most important part of this whole process is step 2. Because that's where, to me, in my business, that's where I see the biggest hole, is that we're walking past people who are interested. They just don't meet our time frame, and so we let them go.
Yep.
Instead of working them and bringing them to that A level.
So what hits my brain, Tom, is the marketing model, the 4 different, steps in the marketing model. We'll bring that in one of the future weeks, and how to accelerate somebody's decision-making process. And so if somebody says it's going to be about a year, how do you get it down to 6 months? How do you get it down to 6 weeks? How do you get it down to 6 days? It's like Miracle Grow. So as you get deeper into this stuff, it's so much fun, because there's an absolute science behind it to integrate everything together. So learning to trust the integrity of the system is one of the hardest things for people to do. And that's why EC2, it's $20 a month. Get involved in EC2. When people see what they get for $20 a month, so everybody's invested into this, and you can buy this, and you can go on the internet, you can do all this. When you invest $20 a month into EC2, and you start seeing how it brings clarity to every area of your life. Like, it's just magical on how it connects, like, all of these different pieces together. I mean, it's just amazing. Just absolutely amazing. All right, anyone else have anything before we wrap up today? So again, turning learning into earning. Connect with your art mentor about what you learned, actions you will take, and the next step. And then deep learning comes not from your art mentor, but from your two art buddies. I mean, this is the thing that I learned deepest in Leverage, the course, and the Psychology of People, is we think we learn the most from our art mentor, but we really learn the most from our two art buddies. But that takes a sacrifice where we're teaching them something we think we know, and we do on a surface level. But when we're teaching other people, all of a sudden it does something to us where we have a deeper understanding, like we know what we're teaching until we teach it, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh my gracious, this is amazing. Like, I never thought of that before. Tom, this has been fun. I can't wait to go ahead and go deeper. Any closing thoughts you have?
No, I just want to thank you for putting all this stuff together. It's changed my life, and so Happy New Year to you and your family.
Well, thank you. You too, Tom. And if you're listening to the rebroadcast of this, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in this. If you have any questions, connect with them, or you can call toll-free 888-230-2300. That's 888-230-2300. And if you're calling in outside the U.S., you can call the U.S.-based number at 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. God bless and have an amazing day. Bye-bye.